some people, a person who doesn't have a meeting to look forward to, could probably quit, right? They were like, man, I'm not doing good. This ain't for me. I'm just gonna quit. But if you actually have a meeting booked with them, and they have a time that they're actually gonna be able to sit down and talk to you one-on-one, they're like, oh, okay, so I'm having a rough week, but I get to sit down and talk to Monte on Thursday. All right, cool. I can stick it out to Thursday. Or if I got a meeting on Tuesday, I did a zero 2 days, but I can figure it out, right? So it gives them something to look forward to, gives them something to hold on to. Because whether we don't realize it or not, we have a lot of influence on the people around us. And a lot of y'all I don't think y'all realize the impact y'all have with people. So look at those meetings and giving people something to look forward to really helps them push. And it might help people, they might have a bad week and like, but they also help them have a really good week. So they got something good to talk about. Like, oh, I'm gonna kill it this week, so I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna sit down and wait, so I'm gonna do that, kill it this week. Like, think about like the impact you have on a person like Dalton, right? He's that right, bro?
No, I'm making him.
He's making Charlie massage.
Okay, so think about like a person like Dalton who doesn't have a lot in his life, doesn't have anybody that's rooting for him, pushing for him, and he knows he has a meeting with you. He's like, he's stoked, bro. He's gonna go out there, he's gonna do his thing, he's gonna perform well because he wants to make sure that he's making you happy, pretty much, right? Because you have that influence, you have that draw. So booking meetings for me is super important. So make sure like if you're sitting down with somebody, you have a one-on-one, make sure before they leave, they have a little sit.
What if they're not on your team? Do you still bam with them?
You can, depending on the person, right? Like I had a one-on-one with Magali, and I bam because the stuff we talked about, like was really like I was like, damn, like this is really good. Like I can help her. So I feel like I can help her, and I feel like I can make an impact. I'm gonna book another meeting so I can check up on the progress of what we talked about. But it really depends on the person. But you definitely want to do it with your team because you don't want your team to feel like we didn't bam what our phones did. You already know.
Yeah. It's the same thing every week.
So it's super important to do the BAM fams because you want to make sure people have something to look forward to, and then it kind of helps you keep your calendar tight, right? Because a lot of times if you don't BAM fam, you might schedule somebody else in and be like, oh crap, I didn't do this person, and then you're behind trying to play catch up. So BAM fam, that way your calendar's always set, and you know what you have available and what you don't have available. Any questions on BAM fam?
I have a question. So for like the one-on-ones, I know personally, like if I have a one-on-one with Delonte, I'm like, hey, this is what I'm working on. This is like my focus. This is where I'm struggling. Like I'll kind of like guide it and ask for his advice. But I feel like when I'm doing the meetings, they kind of just like it'll be like awkward for like the first like minute or so because I'm like, so are you gonna tell me? And then they like wait for me to do it and like guide them and like, hey, this is where your area of weakness is. This is what you need to do. This is your focus. But I feel like I'm like holding their hand too much.
So what I do is I ask the question, like, what do you feel like you're right now?
Okay.
And they kind of get in like, well, and it kind of pulls it out of them. Like, what do you think you need to work on?
Okay.
And so what are your goals for this week? What do you feel like you're gonna struggle with? Like me and Logan had one last night, so I asked him, like he's moving really fast to the program, and he has 3 people starting next week. So it's like what do you feel like you're gonna struggle when it comes to building a team? What do you feel like you're gonna struggle when it comes to training people? And so it kind of allows him to like open his mind a little bit, and it kind of help guide the conversation. Because we just sit down and just wait for them to say something. Most people, think about it, people in this program, until they get a little bit further in, they're not fully accountable. They don't really know what it's like to self-reflect and to pull those niggas out to themselves. So we gotta help guide the conversation and make them think about it. Like, what do you think you're struggling with? What do you feel like you could have done better this week? And it helps guide the conversation and allows them to tell you what they need to work on, and allows you to coach them at the same time.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else? Ray, what's the turn?
Yeah, I'm thinking basically, now that I'm starting to do a lot more one-on-ones, I realize like for the first like 2 or 3, like I've got it, you know, and then it's like we get into like a 4th one-on-one with somebody, or the 5th, it's like, okay, now what do I tell this person that progresses them? Like I know you gotta make it about what they're going through, but at the same time, it's like what things would be wise to like kind of generally blanket over anyone who's in the program who's been in here about this time.
So the first meeting, what are you covering?
Say again?
So the first meeting, what are you covering?
Basically seeing how they're...
Yeah.
You did? Oh, you just not getting there.
I thought it was 9:30.
This is 9:30 is the regular meeting. This is the invite only meeting.
I know. He had to ask me, and I told him to show me.
We got 2 emails.
I saw Adrian.
It's at 8:15.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's one for 8:15 and there's one for
9:30 is the regular meeting.
If you weren't invited.
Well, were you invited?
Yeah,
So why are you late?
because I saw your message. I said just come around 9:30.
Did I say that to you?
No, in the
I thought I saw something that
And
said.
and the leaders, the 9:30 meeting is the regular meeting.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Bye.
Yeah, the was it not a?
Love
No, you
you.
can stay. You can stay.
No, you can say it.
But wasn't it obvious?
I only worked out of the calendar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I work on the
I
calendar.
was confused. I didn't show up early. I took it off the calendar.
So in the first meeting, what are you covering?
So in the first one, it's a little bit of get to know them, a little bit of, we obviously cover up the four things that we look for as far as like, accountability, trust, kindness, prioritization, and patience. And then just kind of tailoring the rest of it to kind of like what their struggles are, what they're dealing with, trying to like make it half work, half like get to know.
Yeah. So the first half is like get to know. And a lot of times, get to know can be longer or shorter depending on how much time you spend with the person already. But yeah, you want to cover those 4 things. And then the second meeting, what are you covering?
For the second one, kind of going over
This is what you gotta worry about when they're kids.
just asking them like, all right, so how's your day? How are things? Like, how are you feeling about where you're, you know, the like the first couple weeks in the bag, like you're acclimated, like talk to me, what's going on? And then, basically just like slowly introducing concepts, just like, they've been there for a couple weeks and they wanna grow. I'm like, okay, so like, you know, we really encourage like audios and books, like stuff like that, like start giving them like a Larissa audio to listen to, stuff that's gonna help them get the right mindsets and stuff like that. And then seeing like what more I can do for them, how to get from them on what they need from me.
And then, when do you go over the 8 schedule under the partnership?
How about when they get promoted to
You gonna
leader?
get appointed?
I was
At
like,
first it was, I did that, but then I switched it to like
Or like
third
if they're
week.
like high quality, then you
Yeah.
do it a little bit before their promotion, but.
when
That's
they're
when I
like,
started doing it.
when leadership is in their sights, I don't want it to just be sales qualified. Because if you got your sales and you're showing up at 10:25 every day, I'm like, okay, so like if you want to get into leadership, like there are certain expectations that go along with that. We're not just to build salespeople. Like we have these 8 core steps, they're hanging on the wall. I asked them like, have you happened to stop and read those things on the wall in there? I was like everything on our walls is like for a reason. I would recommend just touring the office and reading the stuff, but that one right there is really important. I was like, because that's the habit you look for in leadership, and that matters more than just the sales alone. Because you can have someone that's a killer salesperson who's an asshole, and it's like not what we're looking for in a leader.
Yeah.
So I kind of like started to tailor towards that. If I see that leadership is in their sights now, and they're not just trying to like grasp the basics, I don't want to overwhelm them.
Well, honestly, the one-on-ones, like the first one, like you said, just building that relationship, CPR, and then the four things. And then typically the second one, I'm sure you go into more detail. Typically the second one, depending on where they're at, like kind of like you said, it's just really checking on the progress, and just kind of going from that point. Depending on how fast they progress, you know, because I gotta go. Like before he got promoted, he got to his first one-on-one. You know, so it's
Going
like,
8 core steps, we're going to
right, it's like so every person is gonna be different. But yeah, so I'm sure we're gonna go into more detail. But you on the right track, bro. Just really, people just want to have time to sit down and talk to you, bro.
It's kind of how I've been doing it, is being like, what's that?
Yeah. So it's just really just that one-on-one time to really build and just really see what they, because a lot of times people are comfortable being transparent, 100%, like a lot of people around and talking, but they're not really just open up and give you everything. But the one-on-one time really allows them to open up and just talk to you with that trust and that shit.
Yeah, and dude, I wanted Tommy to talk about it because think about it. Like, so Tommy has 6 legs, yes, or 7 or 5 first generation people, and like, this is what a first year owner always does: is they stay in the field. And in his case, he's been able to remove himself from the field full time a lot faster than a normal first year owner. And it's because he's just great with people. He understands, you know. So I think you guys should network a lot with him. But let's just break it down, and then I'm gonna give you guys bullet points, and then what to cover. But the first thing I just want you guys to remember is, and I put only some of you guys here in the room. I love Tyler. I just, you know, I wanted people that are, that you guys either, like, some of you guys are going to open a new office, and then some of you guys just aggressively trying to grow and build leaders. That's why we have Logan in here. Logan has more people starting than some level twos. Way to go, Logan.
Good job, Logan.
And anyway, people that are aggressively growing, and also sometimes just because sometimes of the Saturday meetings, I just get distracted more than anything. I'm trying to teach something, and I feel like I don't think it's like that, but I feel like sometimes people don't value it. So then I just stop. You know, because people just want to come and chit chat and just talk about, you know, stuff, and I think that's cool too. So that's why I don't really do much. You know, I think it's cool that people come to work and they chit chat. But anyway, just for a little bit of time. This is what made this was a game changer. So if you don't know, our office in about March or so, we had a huge blowout with one of our assistant managers that was like harassing people, and our office went from like 40 people to 11. The quality was so low. This is before all of you started, I think, except for Cassandra. Marquise, you were right starting, Marquise.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Mark, this guy that I'm talking about, and I'm sorry, I should have not said his name. Hopefully he won't see it on YouTube. He did Alante's interview, so it was right when Alante was starting. But anyway, our office went from 40 people to 11 in 1 or 2 days because of that, and then somebody saw some stupid video that says that we are a slave company, that we don't make any money, and that nobody grows and nobody gets promoted, and people believe that. It doesn't make sense to me either. But you know, just like if you want to Google that Mother Teresa's bad, you'll find that Mother Teresa's bad. If you want to Google that we're bad, you'll find that we're bad. If you want to Google that we're good, you'll find that we're good. The truth is, at the end of the day, nobody can know how a doctor operates until you actually go through medical school for 8 years, right? So it's not until you get here and you get to know the hearts of the people that work here. But anyway, all that happened is we went down to 11 people. I remember having a meeting here with these people, and I went to IHOP because I was losing my attitude. It was so bad. Like, our leaders were so horrible, and you guys are so much better. The worst one of you here could be a parent for them, just so you know. So way to go. And what changed it is the one-on-ones, and I see them watering down. I started personally meeting, I think it was when you started. I started personally meeting with every single person, one by one by one by one. I think my very first one-on-one was Tracy. I even took him out of the field early one day, was it?
I remember that.
I took him out of the field and we just went to lunch to Hugo's and Potatoes with you. It was me, you, and Claire, and then anyway, and we started talking about this, and like the first thing you have to do, like, it will not work if you don't care. Just so you know, like, if you're not willing, because some people are like, well, I don't have anything in common with my new guy. Well, that makes sense, but like, you have to be willing to make a friend, and until you're actually connected, genuine friends, you have to be willing to put time with that person until you find common ground. You can't have high ground, you can't go high to hit all these goals. There's no high ground until there's common ground. And I've sat down in front of a lot of people that have nothing in common, like people that talk to me about anime and things that I've never, like, I think it's the most ridiculous stuff in the world, but for those people it matters, so it matters to me too. Right? If you collect stamps, I collect stamps. If you like fishing, I'm Googling fishing stuff. So anyway, it will not work, none of this, if you don't care. You genuinely do have to care for actually building a team. And once you know, like, okay, I want to build a team, and you understand, like, in order to do that, I have to be genuinely giving away myself. Not my money. Please don't invite people to food. Don't do that. You don't have to. But once in a while, if you want to, that's fine, but you don't have to pay anything for your team. It creates an entitlement sense. I'm paying you guys Six Flags because it's a goal, one-off, out of whatever, right? A bingo dinner, stuff like that. But anyway, the point is, you have to be willing to sit down with them and understand, if you want to build a team, you need to find people that actually will stick with you and fight when they go through the slumps. Because everybody, all of you guys here, except for Logan, I think, everybody's had a slump. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Jared's going through his, and he's still at 15 sales for the week. Jared's going through a slump, doing 3s and 4s. That's people's out of the slump most of the time.
You're okay, bro.
But most people go through a slump, and most people quit at the slump, right? We saw it with a few leaders that we had to let go a week or 2 weeks ago. And it's because they go through a slump, they never get out. And it's just the most annoying thing to have a leader on your team that doesn't want to get out, that they're in it, and then you feel like you're a bad leader because you're coaching somebody that's horrible. But you, in order to find, this is what Tracy's done so well, and this is what, you know, he's a quick promotion, or he's going to be, is because he's never really lost a team because he understood this from football. That's it. Like it's his advantage. He understood from football that you've got to be friends with the guys that are, like, if you're the quarterback and you're passing the ball to this dude that might get wrecked 4 or 5 times to protect you, you got to love on the guy, because if not, the guy's not going to go and put his physical health at risk for you if he doesn't care for you, right? Does that make sense? That's why in football it makes sense. That's why Tracy built the team. He's had very, very little turnover on his leaders because he naturally does that. Other people like me didn't know that. I didn't care. I treated people like numbers. So I promoted leaders and leaders and leaders, and they would leave one after the other, after the other, after the other, after the other. Whether it was my fault, their fault, or they were bad. And this was the game changer. And since we've done this, I don't know who remembers, but our office was at 23 leaders, and we're at 40 today if we promote one. And this has been only 2 months. And it's because we did one-on-ones with people, and we sat down. We used to come here at night after the field and do a breakdown at the board. It's called PM Breakdown. We used to be here until 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, everyone in the office. Who was here for that?
I saw daily.
When we started, so like, you guys, and we the only reason we removed it is because to have private time with people. So when you should do the first one, when do you guys think, with it's a brand new person, this is like the first time I meet somebody on my team, when should I do it? What do you guys think? On the first week. I'm trying to schedule it on after the first day in the field, because I want to see their reaction to the field. I mean, they might quit, but on the first week, I want to sit down with somebody, and I want to BAM Fam. Everybody knows BAM Fam now?
Yes.
I want to BAM Fam once a week. Like, I'm not leaving the meeting until there's another meeting on the calendar. That's it. And if you do this constantly with about 75% of people, what's gonna happen is you're gonna end up meeting, and you're gonna end up switching their one-on-one with you for their new person that you'll do. And this is when you start, this is when you start serving your team, which is what you should do as a leader. Like, growing as a leader or as an owner, all it gives you is an opportunity to serve more, not to be given more. You'll get paid more, just let the money follow, trust us. The money's there, the money's here, ask Danny. Trust us. You're an owner now, it means you have more credibility, right? Cassandra's an assistant manager, so more people are drawn to her now. More people are excited just because of her title. And the ones that we've been here for a minute, we know the shit she's been through. So we just know, we respect her for that, right? But the new people, they respect her because she's an assistant manager, and they're like, damn, so people do get there, right? Have you felt it? You feel it, right? People come up to you because you're an assistant manager. So all it gives us an opportunity as an assistant manager to do more one-on-ones, to serve more, because her one-on-ones are more impactful because she's an assistant manager. Does that make sense? You get to level 2 and you get a pinch, so you can do more work, not less. Serve more, not less. Anyway, it's just more, it becomes more and more effective. It's the snowball effect. You might do 10 one-on-ones as a level 1, and only 3 people stick around. But by the time those 3 people, 2 of them get to leadership, and they start growing teams, and all they talk is about how great my upline is, then all of a sudden you go do one-on-ones in depth for your new person's your new leader, and they're just more effective. And all of a sudden your team starts forming up, and you get a 4th generation leader, where she doesn't even talk to Jessica in her life, probably. Have you? She has talked to her. But when I first came through the program, nobody ever would have a 4th gen leader. Never. Like, it was so complicated for me to get a 2nd gen. So hard. And people now have 3rd, 4th gens, and it's like normal. So why is because of this. So first, you do it on your first week. You have to BAM Fam for the next week. How you do it, and the excuse you use, or the reason why, is you have to give some sort of homework. Homework. Make it small. I don't give them homework because I want them to actually listen to Larissa's audio. I do want them to listen to Larissa's audio. So So by the way, get your hands on, there's an email I have that I don't like to send out to everybody. It has like 100, not 100, but did I send it to you the other day?
Yeah, it's got quite a few.
It's got like, yeah.
There's a good chunk in it.
I have an email that has maybe like 50 different recordings of Larissa Holly. They're free. You can listen to them for free. The thing is, when people take things for free, don't they take them for granted sometimes?
Yeah.
So that's why I give them one at a time. Again, I'm not trying to make people listen to Larissa, which is great. I know if people listen to Larissa, they'll end up understanding a little bit more. I just do it. I do the homework. Why do you guys think I give somebody homework?
See if they do it.
Just to see if they do it. I just want to see accountability. That's all I want to see. A little bit of accountability. Like, dude, I sat down with Brad and I knew for my life that this man was going to make it. And I still think so. But still, the little bird didn't listen to the audio. I give him I sat down with Brad for a one-on-one. First thing he does is brings a fat Modelo. I'm like, okay, well, he got the confidence down. And, but I loved him. I knew he had a great heart. And I gave him an audio. He didn't listen to it. I think maybe it took the whole week, or we sat down for our second one. I did the second one because I told Tracy, hey, I'm gonna help you with Brad because I like Brad. When we sat down for the second one, I wanted to see whether you had finished it, or you almost were done, or you had listened to half of it. It wasn't the whole thing, but what it did tell me is he was willing to show up and tell me the truth and be accountable. Yeah, I didn't finish it. I like that. At least he tells me. I don't want somebody to tell me I did finish it. Like, I'm learning from him, right? He'd rather tell me the truth and be, embarrassed if you want to, than tell me, yeah, I finished it. Because he could have said I finished it, I would not know.
I did sit there for 15 minutes listening to static because no one told me the first 15 minutes.
Sometimes, yeah, the audio, you have to like push it over. He's like, oh, it was a trick.
I asked if it was
So anyway,
text.
great. This is how I decide my car rides. You're like, how do I do car rides? This is how I do it. I want to work with accountable people. I want to work with a person that I'm like, hey, go hit 2 buildings, and they come back to like, dude, I did 3. I think I did my building 4 times because that person's easier to get to leadership. I want to make my life easier. So I know people that do things when I am not expecting them and I'm not watching them. Those are the people that can be managers. How do you expect somebody to be an owner where nobody's going to tell you to be on time? They have to have that for themselves, right? That's why we don't have the whole room in here. Give them some homework just to see accountability. So anyway, I do that. And Tommy explained, get to know them a little bit. So I do this at the end, okay? I just explained to you guys, like, the most important thing of the meeting is to book the second one. That's it. But you have to book it. You put it on the calendar for yourself. And if you want to invite them or whatever in your upline. But the most important thing is that people have something to look forward, because you can't tell people they have a management training program with a personalized mentor and upline, and then they get into a room with 60 people and all we do is scream. Like, that's awesome and it's fun, but the people need to have the attention. How do you feel your first time you sat down with Logan? Tommy, with Tommy, Logan, did that make a difference?
Oh yeah, felt really good. I felt valid.
He feels valued, right? Guess what? Now he's like, I'm doing this thing. Week 1, he's like, done. What do I gotta do? He's done 3 interviews. The fastest interviewer in the world. We gotta see if that works. It's pretty fun. Logan, we give him an interview, he comes back in 2 minutes. Yeah, he's done. How do I send it back? So, and then how you do it, okay? Like, here's how you start, because you might be like, this is awkward, I'm meeting with somebody. Okay, so here's how you start. The first thing, it's the 5 steps to a conversation. If you guys know the systems, they go all the way through the rest of your life. I will still use the 5 steps, Fuji and everything. But the first thing you gotta do is preempt and break that. So I'll give you guys a little example. I don't wanna do like a whole mock one-on-one, but I'll sit down with somebody, we'll do some small talk about how was their day or how is their studying. Depends if they're a talker or not. But then I'm taking control of the conversation. Listen, this is not a one-on-one where I'm like, whatever happens. This is strategic. I'm being strategic. I'm not wasting my time. That's why I do a one-on-one. By the way, the whole thing should take at least 45 minutes. If it's taking you any less than that, something's off. I mean, somebody maybe that doesn't talk a lot, but it's strategic. I'm trying to strategically get to know people properly. If you have read How to Win Friends from Dale Carnegie. Like, I'm trying to make a friend. So I'm trying to genuinely connect. Like, I ask enough questions so that I can But anyway, the first thing I do is I preempt and I explain what this one-on-one's about. Like, why the heck are we sitting at Torchy's after work when we just worked 10 hours? Why? Because I know they're probably thinking, right? So what your job is to respond to questions that they have in their mind before they ask. That's my job, right? That's why you hear us do an announcement sometimes when there's brand new people. We say, hey, and if it's your first day, you ever hear an announcement like that? Hey, if it's your first day here, and you think this is weird, right? You just hear us say that. It's the same thing. So I'm like, hey, Tracy, I know this might be a little weird, it's me and you out of work. I go off and I just started the one-on-one. Hey, I personally just wanna get to know you. Listen, the business is crazy. People grow to management. There's multiple teams. Honestly, it's very fun. People make great money. We can talk about the pay, any questions you personally have. We can talk about scheduling, anything that you have maybe going on that I can help with. But personally, the way I work, this is just Richard, this is just me. I like the opportunity to kind of get to know you first before I maybe have you sit down with my upline. I'm always trying to edify. I'm always trying to talk about somebody bigger or better than me, because that creates respect. And then when my upline comes and talks to them, they're going to respect and listen to them more. So then it's going to be easier for Tommy to come in and do a one-on-one. If I ask Tommy's going to, in 20 minutes, Tommy's going to get that guy to leadership. Does that make sense? Hey, before I sit you down with maybe with my mentor, personally, I just like to get to know people, and then just me. That's why I do it over food. We do it at Torchy's, and we don't do this in the field. Some of you guys are like, well, we do this in the car. We do this over the phone. It doesn't work. If you do it on the phone, if you do it on the car, it's like not doing it. You might as well not do it, okay? There's something about getting food with somebody, or a snack, or even just having your legs under the same table. There's something about that that creates a connection. It's very difficult to be upset or defensive towards somebody you're sharing food with. Does that make sense? I've read this in a book. It's a freaking book. Okay, it's very complicated to be mad or upset or not open up to somebody when you have both your legs under the same table and there's food to share. This is why we do it at Torchy's. And I picked Torchy's the first time because it was an open space and there's more people. It's not awkward. You can go anywhere else. But it has to be like that. Don't do the one-on-one on the phone. It does not work. Don't do it on FaceTime or Zoom. It doesn't work. Don't do it in the field. Somebody, was it you, Wade? This is why I run this meeting. Somebody's like, let me just ask the questions throughout the field. The purpose of the one-on-one is the being outside of the office, the being outside of any work-related environment, so that they have to tell you something that might be a little messed up, they feel that they can. If they got to say something that maybe they tell you they broke a rule, you know? We want them to tell us. You don't want to be like a sergeant. If somebody makes a mistake here, I want them to be able to come to her to tell me. If you understand the business, nobody's gonna get fired on a mistake. Unless you make a very, very dumb mistake, right? Like fraud and stuff like that. But nobody gets fired over a mistake. I want them to be able to tell me, and I might get pissed, but then I'd be like, Richard, you were worse, so never mind, right? Hey, don't do that again. So I'm preempting breaking ice. I personally love to hear your story, because before we go into this crazy business, working with people that you and I are probably going to be in the field, or you're going to be in the field with your leader, Alante, that's the person that hired you. I just like to hear your story a little bit. And if you want, I can tell you a little bit about my story. Okay? That's it. And then from here, I do that, but I have to tell them, like, what do I expect the next hour to be like? So now they know, like, what are we supposed to do? Is this supposed to be another interview? Does that make sense? I explain what the next hour is going to be like, then let them tell their story. You should, and then on their story, I know this sounds obvious, but it's not. Let them tell their story for 15, 20 minutes. Let them talk and put your phone away. Put your phone on the little, you know how they made the little do not disturb thing? Oh, yeah. Do that, turn it around, and don't look at your phone. It's the worst thing you can do is look at your phone when somebody's talking. Sometimes I understand, maybe you might have like your kid, like something like that, okay, right? But hey, for a majority, don't look at your phone. During this time, try to get to know them. Like, remember, you're not their friend, but if you had your best friend from high school, everybody remember somebody that they're really, really friends with? If you put them in the field with you, wouldn't you guys crush it? Or like have a lot of fun, if that was the goal, right? If you put Jonathan and Wade in the field, they'd probably crush it. So remember, you're more likely to do well with a friend that you are with somebody else. Would you agree?
Yes.
So I let them tell their story, and here I'm trying to find something that I can relate. They tell me their story. hey, where are you from? Sometimes the people have very short words, right? Hey, I ask questions, where are you from? Just stay engaged with them. Try to find common ground. Remember, common ground before high ground. Hey, where are you from? And do you have siblings? And what do they do? And what do your parents do? And where do you come from? What do you do? And why'd you pick this? And blah, 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 blah. And some people like to talk, and let them talk. And be engaged and look at them in the eye and connect. That's why sometimes Torchies we gotta move, because then another 7 guys that are trying to be there for a one-on-one come and interrupt all the time. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Whole point is, let people tell their story, chit chat, let them open up, let them just be themselves, let them tell you their story before if they only tell you work things, tell them, no, like, I genuinely, just, so do you have any siblings? You guys know how to do this, right? Like, try to, imagine this is your best friend and you got hit by a truck and you forgot all your memory, you gotta get to know your best friend. And try to get to know them again. Try to find something that you're like, oh damn, Tracy's really good at this. Oh, I used to do that too. Me too, right? And then you share your story. That's it, let them talk. Again, it should last about 15 minutes. 15 to 20 minutes. And this, the most important thing was when the person feels listened. That's it. Let them talk. Let them talk. If you go into the one-on-one and you skip this, it's over. They're done. Like, if they stay, it's because of us. Just know that a lot of the times your people stay, and you guys have leaders on your team, because Tommy has done an incredible job here creating a culture where it's just awesome to work here. And people just come in here, they see the environment, they're like, yeah, this is the happiest place I've ever seen in my life, I need to stay. Done, that's it. They don't question anything else. Does that make sense? And you have a team a lot of times because of that. Does that make sense? But if we put that team in a brand new office, would it survive? Not all the times, right? Not to scare you guys that are going, you're gonna crush each other. Let them tell their story. You can't just sit down with them and say, hey, we like to get to know people. So here's the thing, just make sure, hey, the 3 quality, and you're going over how to get them to leadership. Hey, we're sitting down here for torches. Hey, your 3 days of 6. Remember, when you say stuff like that, like your 3 days of 6 on a first week person, they don't know what is a day of 6 because they don't remember. So like, we have to do a good job at it. Being aware. What do they know? They've never heard a day of 6 yet. Hey, a day of 6 means one day where we hit 6 sales. Does that make sense explaining stuff? They don't know what car rides are announced. Hey, yeah, we'll go over that in announcements tomorrow. What's announcements? Hey, we'll go over that tomorrow. We have a period of time where we do announcements for the company. Does that make sense? Explaining. Anyway, don't go straight into it. Let them tell a story, let them share your story. I always end my story to my upline or to my interviewer. And then I go into my story so far in the business. So my story, hey, this is Richard, hey, I'm from Spain, so I'll tell you a little bit about me. So I'll do this briefly, okay? Dude, thanks for sharing. I'll share something with you so that way you don't feel like I'm interviewing you, because again, it's over a taco. Who's done this with me? That I told you my story in a one-on-one? Right? Did it feel like I was?
Pretty sure you told me.
I hope I did, Brett. I actually know I did.
It feels like it just feels like that was like 4 years ago.
It was not. It was not even 3 months ago. But anyway, I do tell people my story, and it's not that's not strategic. That's not like, oh, I want to tell Magali this so that she knows that, you know, and then she can stay. No, I'm just being honest. Remember, the best part about the business is, dude, just tell the truth. Tell the truth about the good and the bad. People respect the truth way more than they respect the flashy stuff. Tell people the truth. Hey man, this part sucks. I always tell people, hey, my story, I'm from Spain, and I actually went to college for 4 years. I didn't know that was a trick, so I did the whole 4 years, and I got here 5 years ago. They're like, oh yeah, I'm from Spain. I speak to a Spanish speaker. Yeah, I'm from Spain. Actually, it's my first language. And my sister is the love of my life, and my mom. I moved here by myself. I actually got here, I had $200. This is my story from my interview that Claire learned, and now Claire does her story. I got here with $200 in my suitcase. I only had $200 in a suitcase. I had no money from Spain. It's not a bad thing. In Spain, people just don't have money. They just have a great social life. As much as it can be without any money. And then I finished college. I packed and I got here. My dad had a friend to let me stay in San Antonio in his house. He was retiring from the military on his 5th marriage, and he told me I had 3 months that I could use his car, his place, and you know, I had a place to stay and I had a car to drive. So I got to the U.S. The next day I got a driver license. I started driving his car around. Got an interview. I actually got an interview with this business. And I might have gone a little bit more into my high school and college years, or I maybe tell them about their cancer I think they can relate. I'll tell them, hey, I used to have cancer, you know, when I was 15 years old. Sometimes I use that to like, let me remove your excuses about you having the sniffles. I had cancer, you know, I'm fine. Yeah, and I met Chang, and I loved this Vietnamese lady, and I go into my story in the business. By the way, I also worked at Whataburger. I want people to know I can relate. Like, I hustle, I can outwork people. I went to work for Whataburger from 9 p.m. to 1 in the morning. I made $400 a month there, so I could pay my car payment because I got charged 26% interest on my first car in the US. I thought that was a great deal. It was way less than 100%. And I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't have credit, so anyway, I'm just this like stupid little guy from Spain trying to get a job. Got my job here with Chang. I didn't like it too much, but I liked the people, so I stayed. So what am I telling them? I'm telling my new guy right away. I'm like, you know what? When I started, I didn't like the business. And again, for you, you might like it. Don't tell them you didn't. Like, I'm telling them the truth. And they can relate to that. Sometimes I get an eyebrow. They're like, oh shit, I didn't like this either. I'm curious now. Let me listen to you. You see what I mean? But it's just because I'm telling the truth. I actually didn't like this. I had people yelling in my ear. I was not into that. I wanted to leave on my second day. Yeah.
I think you're already gonna answer. Go ahead.
But anyway, I tell my story, I relate, and then I go into like, hey, I was actually gonna apply. I actually was applying for Amazon. I got a position for AWS, Amazon Web Services. They offered me $55,000 a year plus a year of housing where they would pay my house. So I took the position. It wasn't open for 3 or 4 months, so I stayed in the business until I got there. But what happened in those 3 months is my upline, David, he was my leader at the time, training me in the field, got promoted to management. And I remember Hugh and I were friends, so I asked him to show me how much he got paid. He got paid $16,000, his first paycheck for 2 weeks. I remember doing the math on $16,000 every 2 weeks for a whole year was about 200-something, 80,000. Realized that was way more than 55,000, so I realized I should not go to Amazon because I wanted to make more money. Amazon, I tell them my story. Amazon promised me $55,000 a year on a 3% raise. That means that after a year, I would make, instead of $55,000, I would make $56,000, $1,300. And after 2 years, I would make $56,000, $2,600, and I would basically get a $25 weekly raise every year, gross before tax. I remember doing that math. I have $25 a week. Doesn't really do much, you know, before tax. And anyway, so that's how I met David. And really, to be honest, I wanted to quit until I was on my 4th month in this business, and here I am, still 4 years after. I kind of like I didn't quit, because now it's great. But I wanted to quit until my 4th month. I was a top leader, and I still wanted to quit for Amazon. But I remember connecting really with David a lot, and to be honest, it's just me. I just made the best decision I ever made in my life was to stay, because now here I am, right? And then here if you just started, you can go into now, here I am. I just saw Cassandra get promoted, and it just impacted the crap out of me that she's 24 years old, and she's about to, you know, never write a resume for herself ever in her life again. And I saw that when I first started at New Bern, and I am freaked out. There's a lot of growth. I love the environment, and that's why I'm here. So any of that stuff, and then I end this with like a question, right? Is there anything there you can relate? I wanted them to mirror me. Tell my story in my interview. If I don't have a story, what do I do? Get with your upline, by the way, on your story on how you should do it. But you should get good at talking about yourself in a way that's not bragging. It's also not like you have to. If you're an owner, I recommend you share your story with your office at least once a month. People should get to know you. So anyway, I share my story a little bit, whatever I think they can relate. And if I don't have an impactful story, bless you, I'll share my story. I'll share my upline story. That makes sense? Hey, dude, Alante. I'll tell a story of whatever is it that I'm excited about. I'll share that. And basically, when you get to this part, the one-on-one's almost done. This should be 15 minutes. This should be 15 minutes. Call it 20 each. You're at 40. That's it. Then I'm wrapping it up. I'm like, dude, at this point, I'm doing like a false ending almost. I'm like, hey, thanks. Thanks for coming. Like, I want to appreciate their time. When I appreciate them for just coming and getting a taco, what am I teaching them to do? How do you teach sales?
You do it.
You do sales. So how do you teach being grateful?
You do it.
You're grateful. So I'm like, dude, thank you so much. I go out of my way. I want to make sure they understand, like, hey, dude, like Zord, I think, showed up his first one-on-one with his kid, his wife, and everybody. I'm like, wow, dude, hey, thank you. Like, do not take for granted that somebody's there spending their own time, that they could be with their wife, which is why sometimes I say no to some one-on-ones for some new guys, because I'm like, dude, my wife's pregnant 30 weeks. I want to be with her. I love you, but I just met you, and you're probably going to quit. I'm going to go with my wife. She's not going to quit on me. I want to make sure people are grateful. If I'm sitting down with somebody, I want them to know that I'm grateful. We did not tell these guys to come and feel us.
No, we did.
I told my guy.
We told him about it.
I guess his phone is broken. Anyway, I'm like, dude, at this point, I'm like, let me wrap this up. At this point, I'm like, hey guys, dude, thank you so much for coming and sharing with me. To be honest, I'm gonna tell you what our company values. Again, not what I value, but this is what our business values the most. Just so you know, this is what we're looking for in people, and people that grow quickly. Like, I can see how you want to grow quickly. Our company, we look for 4 things in people, 4 or 5 things in people, and I go into our 4 character traits: trust, accountability, prioritizing, and patience. And I briefly explain both. I preempt them what I need them to do. Do you want me to write it out? Trust, accountability, prioritizing, and how do you sound? Like, how does it make you look when you're sitting at a Torchy's and after sharing your story? Yeah, this is patience at the end. How do you think you look to your brand new person when you sit down with them and you're telling them about these 4 character traits that your company's looking for? Does it not make you look really good? It makes you look like you got your stuff together. You're looking for goods. You're looking for the next winner, right? Because I am. But I briefly explain these, and then I go into the homework. Again, I go into the homework because I'm giving them a little test on prioritizing and accountability. That's it. But I want to give them homework, and I want it to be okay for them to not do it. Does that make sense? I want it to be fine for them to not do it and be able to tell me. Just like you guys, I want you to make a mistake. If you guys mess up a first-round interview, or you mess up a trainee in the field because you take him to the gas station and you know you're supposed to go straight to the field, and you take him to the gas station. Can you just play music in here, grab all of them, and make them successful? Right? I want people to be able to tell me my mistakes without knowing. I'm not going to condemn anybody. Somebody makes a mistake, guess what? Guess who made it before, probably? Right. So I go through all these things. I'm like, here, look, here's what if I'm you, this is what I'm doing. I'm like, hey, here's what they're looking for, or my mentor Alante, here's what we're looking for in our group of people. Just so you know, okay? Just so you know, this is what Tommy's looking for. I'm looking for my next growing up line. Whoever I think is going to help me build that person, right? Maybe I'm using that person. I'm using 2-3 names if I have to. You know, the first thing is trust, and I explained it a little bit. Trust, I always do / communication. Again, I'm trying to say these 4 things, whatever the office is missing. Right now, we're missing people communicating. So I'm like, hey, I'm looking for people we can trust. How hard would it be for us to kind of do something together if I have to look behind my shoulders and check if you're telling me the truth? You know what I mean? So we're looking for people we can trust. Who's Kaylin's person? He's calling me. I'm gonna tell him to text me. Anyway, and by the way we gauge trust a lot of the times is by communicating. I'm telling you this on the one-on-one. Hey, and like, listen, sometimes people make mistakes. Most people only communicate when they do things right. So we're actually looking for people that when it's not going great, that they can also communicate. I've made the most mistakes. The best part about our business, Wade, is that everybody started at entry level. So all the mistakes you're about to go through, all the little embarrassments, all the little things, I did it too. What did I just do to them? What did I just open the door for them to do? Make mistakes and share it with who? With me, not with their crossline. Not with their downline or crossline person. It's like what they do when they don't feel they can tell me. If you got people on your team, they talk a lot to other people because they feel that every time they're gonna tell you a mistake, you're gonna just go on them. So you need it's okay to have a little bit of that respect. But people should be able to come up to you and be like, dude, I messed up, I fucked up. And be like, I love when people come and tell me that because it means they trust me. Alante now tells me that, dude, I fucked up, I'm like, and inside I want to shoot him in the foot. But outside I'm like, I love you too. I messed up just as bad, so. This does not mean you can't be successful. You can still be successful. Let's try to work on it. Deal? So I want to create that, right? And I say, hey, communicating is important. Like, I'm looking for somebody that, listen, we're looking for attendance. Like, hey, a big thing is attendance. Just showing up to work when you gotta show up to work when. For some people, they see somebody sneezing and they're like, COVID. I got COVID. And they don't show up to work. That's some people, right? That's not me. I go to work. You gotta cut my leg off before I don't go to work because I'm like scared I'm gonna lose something. I'm going to work. But I still remind people, hey, listen, if something, we're really focused on having 100% attendance. Obviously, for a brand new person, is super important. If, by the way, you want to qualify for base pay or salaries, that's totally fine. It's not hourly, it's attendance, so it's weekly base pay. You got to be there for the week. If anything happens, I understand a family emergency. I'm opening the door for them to miss a day, but still be able to communicate with me. Hey, if something crazy happens, just talk. Make sure you text Tommy, Richard, and you can put me there too. Communicating. I'm also looking for people that are accountable. Accountability, here's how I explain that. We're looking for somebody that the majority of the time, whatever they say they're gonna do, they do it. That's it. We're not looking for somebody to say they're gonna do 10 sales, and then they're gonna lose their attitude on their 5th door. We're not looking for that. I'd rather you tell me, hey, I'm gonna do my best today, and I'm gonna put my best effort. I'm looking for accountable people that can, follow up on their words, okay? And then I typically stop right here. I typically stop and I ask them, hey, pause, okay? I'm going a little more in depth with you guys, but typically I would go a little bit faster. I stop right here, I'm like, hey, Wade, so personally, how do you feel you do? This is super important. Hey, Wade, personally, how do you feel you do with communication, trust, and being accountable before you got in your life? Like, how personally do you, on a scale of 1 to 10, maybe 10 being the highest, 1 the lowest, how do you feel you do? Heck yeah. Dude, that's awesome. You're gonna crush it here. We super value that. I use that to get rid of their nerves about sales, right? Are people nervous about not selling in the beginning?
Sure.
So I tell them, I'm like, hey, listen, I promise you one thing about our business. Yes, we have to learn how to sell at the beginning, but I've seen this, and you guys, some of you guys are examples. If you are the hardest working person and the most accountable, and you just can't figure out how to sell, but you keep trying, and your effort level is so big, I know Richard, Tommy, I know my other, we will come through for you. But you see what I mean? Like, now I'm telling them, like, hey, sales life, dude, you just gotta learn it. Like, I'm sorry, okay? You're in a cubicle, you gotta learn spreadsheets, sorry. You're in football, you gotta run laps, period. People play football, what do they wanna do? They wanna pick up the trophy and do the last pass. But you also gotta run laps and do push-ups, right? So I'm like, hey, sales, you gotta learn it. If you're nervous about sales, they're telling me they're accountable, I'm telling you the truth here. We will help you while you suck if you're the hardest working person in the room. Because it's freaking true. I've never seen somebody put the most effort here and not make it. Only they didn't make it if they gave up on themselves. Which in that case, it's okay. It's totally fine. So now I go into, hey, the last 2 things is prioritizing. And what I mean by prioritizing is like, hey, we're looking for people that are willing to adjust. I'm not telling people to stop watching Netflix. Hey, just people that are willing to adjust. People, we like people. We just love people that their success, their personal success in their life is just a priority for them. Bigger priority than watching a show or hanging out or getting drunk. We like people that have that in their priorities. Not that they don't go out, just that's one of their things, that they're hungry to succeed in their life. Maybe somebody that can prioritize a podcast versus Bad Bunny. Maybe somebody that can prioritize 30 minutes of their whole driving time of the day to listen to something we give you. Maybe somebody that can prioritize a book before they sit down on the TV. We're looking for those people. Again, not that it has somebody that's willing to adjust to that And then patience. I'm also looking for patience. And here I'm gonna preempt them so they don't quit on the first 2 weeks when they're not, you know, a fast promotion like Anthony. I'm looking for people that are patient. How many times, have you ever been rich? It's not a trick question, but I always ask them like, hey, have you ever built something? Some people haven't had a job. So I'm like, hey, like, do you ever see yourself in a position like maybe like Richard? Or like Tommy? Or, no, right? Exactly. You come from their past experience. Man, have you ever led people? Like, have you ever had a team of people that you personally had to coach? No, okay. So how do you think you'll do on the first 2 weeks of that? Let me ask you a different way, right? If you ask me to fly a plane and I never flown a plane, what do you think's gonna happen to this plane? We're gonna crash the plane. So hey,
We're gonna crash the plane.
so we're gonna ask you to do a lot of new things that you're gonna fail. So what am I preempting here with patience? Yeah, but they're gonna fail a lot, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, hey, in order to fly planes and professionally, you're gonna probably, you know, mess up a couple. So I'm like, hey, for people in our training, this is a training room, which means training means mistakes are allowed. Not only allowed, but encouraged. So I'm looking for somebody that's patient, that when they make 2 or 3 mistakes, they don't quit. Just because it's not working right away. This is not a sprint, it's a marathon. I'm looking for somebody, not I. For somebody that wear their marathon shoes, not their sprinting shoes. Because this is a marathon, not a sprint. So I'm looking for people that are patient, that when they don't get their first weekend, compare themselves with a quick person growing. I'm looking for somebody that they don't quit on that, because they understand that building a skill set takes time. Just like the first time, I always use driving. The first time you drove a car, were you not nervous in the highway? The first time ever in your life, you were nervous. Now today, you probably drove here putting your makeup on, while recording a Snapchat, smoking a cigarette, and playing music, and watching a movie. And you made it here, and on time. Charlie tucks his feet in, cruise control. So anyway, how do you personally think you do with, if I ask you to prioritize some of these things and be patient with your own learning curve, and be patient maybe with your upline. If they have an upline that's 18, I'm asking them to be patient with their upline.
Yes.
I'm like, hey, Yvonne's your upline, and you gotta understand, you know, she's gonna make mistakes, and are you willing to take that? So you'll make some on your, like, if I'm doing this for my in-depth, right? If I'm Richard and I'm doing this for Yvonne's new girl, I'm gonna ask that person to have grace on Yvonne, because Yvonne is gonna go off on them one time and make a mistake because she's 18. Does that make sense? I asked them, how do they feel they do with these, and they're like, great. What do you think they're gonna tell you when you, hey, how do you think you do with these, or are you willing to get better at these?
I'm the best.
They're like, oh, I'm the best. Because guess what? We're not asking people to do sales or recruiting or no specific skill. We're looking for these kind of people. And when you say this to the right people, to people that are, the people we're looking for, is people of morals and people of ethical. And I want to put somebody in front of a customer, and I want to be able to swear to Joy or to Nestle that Tracy said the truth, told the truth. That's what I want. And I don't want to actually have to be with Tracy to know that. I just want to hire somebody that I know that already. Does that make sense? When you say this to people, and then they're like, great, thank you so much. It should take about 40 minutes to an hour. And then I'm like, hey, would you value, not interested, would you value if I gave you a podcast from the fastest growing national consultant in our business, this girl, Larissa? It took her 3 years from the day she started entry level, 3 years from the day she had 100 offices. 3 years. To be a national consultant. That's true, 100% true. She said she's a beast. She just came back from Paris, spent like 40 grand in Paris. You saw her Instagram? Yeah. Buying like Dior and Cartier. Anyway. So I'm like, hey, would you value, and I'm done guys, I'm done, sorry. Would you value audio from her about our business? Would you listen to that, and let's sit down next week and talk about it? What am I doing? Bam, fam. They're like, yes. I'm like, perfect. Here's the audio. I send them one. Don't send them the whole email if you have it. I send them one. I typically send them like Larissa's story or employee versus entrepreneur. Dude, send them your favorite. Send them the one you like. And they're like, I'm like, cool. Let me know how you think about it. And then technically next week we're sitting down and talk about that audio. And at that point next week, I can see like, hey, how's your first week? Now I don't need a strategy. Now we're gonna sit down on tacos, who do you relate to most in the office? I'm trying to get them around that person. Hey, how you doing so far? Maybe you have a qualifying date, maybe you have two. Maybe you don't, maybe you're struggling with the sales, so let me connect you with somebody that was very struggling in sales and figured it out. Right, at that point, we're chit-chatting about the business, we're chit-chatting about their personal life. I'm trying to connect them with the people that can help them on their second meeting. Does that make sense?
I have a question.
Yes, questions.
So for like my new people, when I start connecting them with Tracy and everybody's leaving, or
No, you're Tracy, and at this point, it's Cassandra for you.
okay,
Well, if there are people staying in Dallas, that's your question.
that's,
If they're staying in Dallas, Tracy.
okay, that's.
But if your breakdowns, you should do everything.
No, yeah, I just been like connecting them with Tracy, so they're like,
100%.
once I dip, they're
Yeah.
gonna go to Tracy.
100%.
Okay.
Connect them with Tracy or with another leader in the office that you think they're gonna, that you should find out who could father them, right?
Makes sense.
And, yeah.
So Cheryl,
I
I
would,
don't want it to sound like it's getting complacent, but Cheryl, what I want it to be like every week with everyone every week, like it should be a constant thing.
Yeah.
Should that be a
There should be.
Sometimes, sometimes like I just feel like sometimes we're scheduling these one-on-ones. Some people just don't take them that serious, you know.
It's because we're not, if I didn't do this right the first time,
Yeah.
there's no way for them to take it serious. It's like if I put somebody as an owner, but I'm not making any money, they're not gonna take their position seriously. So sometimes I understand it might be difficult. It's recommended to do it every week. If you wanna grow the quickest, here's the thing, I did this every single day, 5 days a week for 2 months. Sometimes 6 days a week for 2 months. That's when Tracy started, then Tracy hired Charlie, and all of a sudden, I realized my calendar was gone. But I had a heavy calendar. I had 2 or 3 one-on-ones at night until from 7:30 to 10:30 at night, every night for 2 months. But I built a huge team after that. I never had to go back. Now I go back to whenever I want. But if people are not taking serious, Keith, let me do it for you, or let Tracy do it for you. The scheduling it. Like if they're not taking the scheduling serious and they're rescheduling you, it's because the first initial conversation might be off. Let us do one of those or 2 for you that you can record and set up the one-on-one for you. So maybe you're doing this perfect and all you're missing is the actual setting that up. That doesn't come up that way, where they value sitting down. And once they value sitting down, do you guys feel like, does this help?
Yes.
This is the structure, okay? Next Saturday, we just didn't have time. Next Saturday, I'll do like what the 8 core steps, and when they get to leadership, what should I be talking about? All of you guys have leaders on your team. It's very simple. It's pretty much like, hey, okay, great, you made it through the early stage, entry level. Honestly, I would have been really upset you didn't go through entry level. It's pretty simple. Congratulations, you're a leader now. We expected that. We knew that from you from the interview. I'm acknowledging a real fact. And then I go through the 8 core steps. I typically want to laminate something, maybe give it to them. And I just go over these, and I'll explain to you guys how I personally break these down. But I'm like, hey, these are the expectations for a leader. It tells you right here. If you partner up with your mentor and you do the 8 core steps every single day for 180 days for 26 weeks on a row, you will be an owner. That's it. Like when people are like, oh, this is a 6-month training program. Well, it's a 6-month training program, ask Alante, from the day you commit to do the training program, the way it's supposed to be done. Not from, which is why most of us, we don't do it in 6 months. Because nobody gets out of the gates is that good. Danny was very good, and he did it in 6 to 7 months. But if you can do this every single week for 26 weeks as a leader, you will qualify for ownership. There's just no way around it. But that means, are you going to not miss 1 day of reading for 6 months? I've missed a day of reading in the last 6 months. It's difficult, but this is how you do it. So anyway, I'll cover this next week, but I recommend the 8 core steps. They're really good. They better your life, and they get you out of your own head. Any other questions about this? One-on-one, setting up.
I like this a lot.
Yeah.
This is very
Thank you, Richard.
If you're not doing it right, please don't be. Remember, mistakes are allowed. If you're not doing this correctly, please call your upline and say, hey, Richard, dude, I'll do one for you. I'll do one for you. But call me. Let me know. Cool. Can we light this place up on fire today? We go in there. We start at 10 o'clock. Leaders car rides. Let's light this place up. can we blast music on every room?
Also, good morning.
Got it. This is my next path to success. Any other
like the
questions,
OG
please call
team
Lante
with
Atkins
the
at 24 62 64 29. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
You're gonna press that.
Hey, Ted.